Welcome into New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by as we talk a little NBA free agency on today's video. Fred Katz of The Athletic, one of the best beat reporters that covers the Knicks, put out an article where he talked about 10 different players that he thinks the Knicks, Leon Rose, Tom Thibodeau, and World Wide West could target in NBA free agency. So we're going to give you those 10 names. We'll react to that. And if you want to check out Fred's full article, I've got it linked down in the comments and description of this show. Alrighty, so the New York Knicks, we know they don't have any cap space, but the NBA always does these things where they still allow teams and they give teams resources to still spend money. If you are a non-tax-paying team, you have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is a deal that starts at $12.9 million per year. Over a 4-year deal, it's about $55 million. The taxpayer mid-level exception, that's more likely what the New York Knicks are going to have to be dealing with. That's $5.2 million per year, and that would be in excess of 4 years and $20 million if they were to offer that to somebody. You look at the committed salary that the New York Knicks have on their roster right now. So I just want to pull up this Bobby Marks photo real quick so I could just get that pulled up. They have $136 million in committed salary. I've taken away the $20 million of the player option that OG Anunoby has. He's going to decline that. Knicks are sitting at $136 million. They're going to have to make a decision on Bojan Bogdanovic. They want to pick up his $20 million salary for the 2024 season. And then if you re-sign Hartenstein and you re-sign Anunoby, you're most likely going to be an apron team, which means you're only going to have the taxpayer mid-level exception, and the Knicks are getting awfully close to being a second apron team. And if I had to bet, Leon Rose wants to avoid being an apron team at all costs this summer because he knows that he wants to trade for a star, and if you are an apron team, it makes it really difficult. Here are some rules that if you are an apron team, and we'll go through these quickly. If you're a first apron team, you cannot take back more money in a trade. So let's say the New York Knicks want to trade for a player that's worth $50 million. They have to be giving up $51 million. They can't take back more money. You're also not allowed to use a pre-existing trade exception. The New York Knicks, they have a couple of those. The second apron is where it gets extremely difficult. You're also not allowed to take back more money in a trade or use a pre-existing trade exception. You're also not allowed to aggregate contracts like you were in the old CBA. For example, if you wanted to trade for a player that was worth $50 million, you could pair two players at $25 million apiece and make that happen. Now, if you're a second apron team, it has to be a one-for-one trade when it comes to salary. You're also not allowed to send out cash, so our good friend cash considerations, that is no longer a part of the deal. I say all this to say that if the New York Knicks want to trade for a star, they're most likely going to do it this summer. Because if they enter the second apron going into this season, it's going to be almost impossible to pull off the type of trade that they would want. We're going to operate today's show that the Knicks at minimum have the biannual exception or maybe the taxpayer mid-level, instead of the non-taxpayer mid-level. But we'll also talk about some guys they would have to pay the full mid-level exception. But I want to hear from you first before I give you the 10 names that Fred Katz mentioned. Name a free agent you want the Knicks to sign. Let me know in the comment section. Probably my favorite name that Fred mentioned was Tyus Jones of the Washington Wizards. Jones is one of the most pure point guards in the NBA. And I will continue to beat this drum as long as I have to. The New York Knicks have to add a floor general, a guy that can run the show when Jalen Brunson is sitting down. This comes from Fred. In 50 games after trading away R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, two mainstays in the Knicks' second unit, the offense was 20.3 points per 100 possessions, worse while Brunson was on the bench. I know Brunson's great. He's a really good player, but you can't be 20 points worse. And if you were to add a guy like Tyus Jones, who last year averaged 12 points per game and 7 assists, a guy that can score for himself, create quality shots for somebody else, while also controlling the paint and getting the ball to his scorers in the right position, that would help out a lot. Tyus Jones is one of the best point guards in NBA history when it comes to assist to turnover ratio. He doesn't turn over the ball, and that would be something that would greatly benefit this New York Knicks bench. You could play Deuce and Tyus together. You'd be small, and you could probably play Tyus and Brunson together a little bit, despite being a little bit small as well. But Tyus Jones had a career year, and he shot 41% from three this past year. And he's already making more than the mid-level exception. So I think that he is going to, due to his stellar play over the last couple of years, he's going to outprice himself of the New York Knicks pockets. And that's unfortunate because he would be a really great backup point guard. If he wants to come play for the Knicks for 4 for 55, let's do it. Let's have a ball. I'm just not so sure that he's going to get, that he's not going to get more money. I think he will go somewhere else for maybe 4 years 60, 4 years 70 type of money. Derrick Jones Jr. is another player that Katz mentioned in his article. And this one made a lot of sense to me because I do think the Knicks could use another wing defender. They could use another athlete on this team, a guy that can get out and run in transition. And Derrick Jones Jr., we know he's a high flyer, but he has really cemented himself as one of the elite perimeter defenders in this league. He was a key part in the Dallas Mavericks rotation and really the renaissance of their defense midway through the year. He's become a stopper on that side of the floor. He's improved his three-point shot a little bit. Still not a knockdown shooter at all, just league average there. I worry about the lack of spacing when he's on the floor with the big and Julius Randle. But if you're looking for a wing defender that can get up and down, push it in transition, knock down the occasional catch-and-shoot open look, Derrick Jones Jr. might be that guy. I could also see him, though, like Tyus Jones, being a little bit too expensive for the New York Knicks. A guy that is right within the budget is veteran forward Royce O'Neale. Spent last year with the Phoenix Suns after being traded there from the Brooklyn Nets. And when you talk about a player that the New York Knicks are targeting, that makes a lot of sense for Royce O'Neale. He is I wouldn't say great defender at this point in his career, but he's a really good defender. And he can guard point guards, two guards, small forwards, and even some small power forwards. And he can run as the power forward in a small ball lineup, and he can knock it down from three. In each of the last 4 seasons, he shot better than 37% from that spot on the floor. He doesn't really give you anything else on offense besides the ability to be a catch-and-shoot player. But when you talk about winning players in this league, that's the type of guy Royce O'Neale is. He can D up, and he can knock down open looks. You can never have too many of those players on your roster. If you're looking for more of a shot-creating guard, Monte Morris is someone that Fred Katz mentioned as a New York Knicks free agent target. Morris is more of just your pure scorer than a guy like O'Neale. I don't think he's a really good defender at all. I think he needs to improve on that side of the floor, but he might just be what he is at this stage in his career. He could fill it up for you. Didn't play all that much due to some injuries and being out of the rotation for the Minnesota Timberwolves this past year, but he can score. And he was efficient from 2020 to 2023, averaging nearly 12-plus points per game, or about 11 points per game in that stretch while shooting 48% from the field in 3 straight seasons, and 3 straight seasons of 38-plus% from 3, and 4 straight seasons of better than that from distance. So he could shoot it. He could score for himself. Knicks could use another scorer off the bench for the biannual non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Sure, I'd be in on Monte Morris. Kyle Anderson is the next player we're going to talk about on today's video. Anderson probably not going to re-sign with the Minnesota Timberwolves just because where they're at on their salary cap sheet. They're not in a good spot right now. That's why we've heard about Karl-Anthony Towns being on the trade block, and they just don't have the money to bring Anderson back. So you're looking at a guy that can come off the bench. He is a point forward. He is someone that doesn't shoot the ball. He makes winning plays. He can rebound the basketball, but his best skill is creating open looks for others while also possessing elite size, and he's a pretty solid defender. I wouldn't mind Kyle Anderson being a backup power forward for Julius Randle on this team at all. It at least gives you another guy that you can run your offense through. And if you lose Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency, you're going to need someone else to be a dribble handoff guy for you, someone else that can throw those backdoor cuts, and Kyle Anderson could actually fit nicely into a role like that. A veteran guard that Katz brought up was Kyle Lowry, maybe the best flopper of all time. Kyle Lowry is the definition of, if he's on your team, you probably love him. If he's not on your team, you probably hate him. And I like having those guys on my team. I was really impressed with the way Lowry played in the playoffs for the Philadelphia 76ers. And you know when the lights shine bright and it's a playoff game, Lowry's going to make those little plays here and those little plays there, and those add up for him to just be a winning player. He could still shoot it from outside, and reportedly the New York Knicks were interested in signing Kyle Lowry when he was bought out by the Charlotte Hornets. Just weren't able to get it done. And he's a Villanova guy. I never have a problem with adding more Nova Knicks to this team. If Lowry wants to finish his career with the New York Knicks, I would honestly welcome him with open arms to be that point guard off the bench. Gordon Hayward is the next player we're going to talk about. It didn't work out for Gordon when he was traded from Charlotte to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti talked about it. Gordon Hayward's wife talked about it. It just didn't work out. But I do still think there is some quality basketball to be played from Hayward before he hangs it up. Tom Thibodeau is reportedly a massive fan of Hayward. He's compared him to Jimmy Butler before. And the New York Knicks, they could use a veteran wing that can handle, create shots for themselves, and defend at a decent level on this roster. Gordon Hayward would be someone I would be interested in for the right price. Earlier today, we talked about Kevon Looney as a free agent target for the New York Knicks. If you missed that video, go check it out. I'll have it in the comments and description of this one. But if you lose Hartenstein, Looney is my number one replacement for him. He's a winner. He's a two-time champion. He's one of the best rebounders in modern NBA history, and he's someone that's going to give you all energy, all grit, all grind, all the time, and he can protect the paint as well. Not someone that's going to wow you with his shot-blocking numbers, but he's really good when it comes to the rule of verticality. He could also be just a good shot contester as well. He's a veteran. He's a winner. He plays hard. He rebounds the basketball, and he embodies, in my opinion, that New York Knicks culture. Kevon Looney would be a perfect fit for the Knicks, as he is expected to be waived by the Golden State Warriors. Jonas Valanciunas is another big man that Katz mentioned, and this one was really interesting to me because if you can run a center rotation of Mitchell Robinson and Jonas Valanciunas, it's really a pairing of two different styles. Valanciunas is an offensively skilled and gifted center. He's averaged more than 12.5 points per game each of the last 4 seasons, and he averaged 14 last year and 17 the 2 years prior to that. He's even added a little bit of a three ball to his game. Not someone that knocks it down at an extremely high clip, but he at least keeps defenses honest. And if you could have Valanciunas coming off the bench, spreading the court for Brunson or Randall, I think it could make some sense. He can also punish people when he has the ball from the foul line down. We've seen that for a long time in this league from him. I don't mind it at all. I don't. And that just may be a route the Knicks have to take, unfortunately, if Hartenstein does go sign with another team. Last player we'll talk about on today's show is someone we already talked about on the program earlier today. Fred Katz watching what we're doing. I'm just kidding. Fred is awesome. Goga Bitadze, a bruiser from the Orlando Magic. Not nearly as skilled as Valanciunas and doesn't provide the playmaking or really any of the skill, like when it comes to ball handling or anything like that, that any of the Knicks Isaiah Hartenstein has, But he's rough, he's rugged, he's tough. He is physically imposing. You watch a game, you feel Goga Bitadze. He can protect the rim as well. 2 times in the last 4 seasons, he's averaged over a block per game. He's efficient around the rim as well. He's got some nice touch there. So the Knicks are looking for a bruiser off the bench. I think it could make some sense, but I wouldn't pay him too much money. Quickly, the 10 players that Katz mentioned: Tyus Jones, an elite playmaking point guard; Derrick Jones Jr., a perimeter defender that's improving the three-point shot; Royce O'Neale, a winning player that is the epitome of a 3-and-D guy; Monte Morris, more of your bucket getter; Kyle Anderson, a playmaking big off the bench; Kyle Lowry, a veteran player that makes a lot of winning plays; Gordon Hayward, someone that Tom Thibodeau likes a lot; Kevon Looney, I think he really just would fit this culture well, and he would be a New York Knick the first day he plays. Jonas Valanciunas, more of an offensively gifted big, and then Goga Bitadze, your classic big man bruiser. We've mentioned 10 players on today's show. The list comes from Katz. It's time for you to name a free agent. Name a free agent you want the New York Knicks to sign. Give me the name of that guy down in the comment section. And make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm also on IG. So hit me up over there, and let's go Knicks!